The title, Confessions of a Scouse Carp Angler, 20 years in the Cheshire Carp Valley. Now, some of you are probably wondering what you mean, the Cheshire Carp Valley. Well, the Cheshire Carp Valley is an area in Cheshire which I found back in 1990. And basically, I named it this area because it was just full of carp. And it was basically the lakeside of the River Weaver. It's absolutely rammed with lakes there. There's a lot of lakes there, and they're all owned by like associations. Now, an association is basically a local club which has evolved, and what they do is say, like, for instance, let's like name a couple the three associations that's in the area. You've got Winsford, you've got Northwich, and you've got Warrington. Now, they're all towns in Cheshire, small towns in Cheshire. Many, many, many years ago, well before my time, they set up local clubs. And then they realised then that this club can evolve. Let's let associate people outside the town that where the clubs were created come and join our club. Now, when I went on to the first water, which at the time there was no publicity on this. Back then, in 2003, it was still a bit like full of the old ways. Not the association, but the local anglers, they like to try to control the waters. So basically, you had the association rules, and then you had the local rules, because a lot of them used to think, like, local lakes for local anglers. But when you're in an association, that's not the case. You know, these waters that are run by the associations, you have a small hard core of anglers that still think that they're their waters, and it's disbelief. You just couldn't make it up. I can understand, like, back in 2003, you had a couple of anglers there who've been there since they were like youths, and they've made a life down there. But what they didn't understand is they don't own the lakes. They're not their lakes. Your local little club has made it into an association. Now, 20 years later, they've had, I know of, 20 years money off associations, i.e. outside the area, or like their postcode, their local town postcode. Now, I live in Liverpool, and I've come into this area as an associate member, not as a local member. And to be fair, when I did come in, there was no local clubs in this area, in the Cheshire Carp Valley. They were just associations, so everyone could join this club, these associations, and basically fish the waters. And everyone was on a level pedal, except for the local anglers and the local waters for local anglers, as they say. Now, I didn't pay any attention to that. I just let them all get on. To me, they were just like old banjo flickers trying to sort of like control and, bully people when they come down. I had all that in 2003. And, they were like men, they're old men now. They're like 60, So, You let them crack on, let them think what they want to do and everything else. But I just basically ignored them because they had no right to tell you what to do, which they do. They come down, they tell you what to do and everything else. And I've had a couple of captures, and he seems to sort of like terrorize me on the phone, and you will do this and you will do that, and you will let. I was like, not a chance. I ain't a local member. I'm not a local club member. I'm an association. Um, I'll do whatever I want, mate, belongs, don't break the rules. And that was my attitude towards them. Now, they didn't like this, so I've had the 20 years of harassment of the local anglers because they thought they were local waters when they're not, they're association waters. Now, it's 2023 now, and it's 20 years later, and we've just had the pandemic. Now, out of the associations, the smallest association is Winsford District Angling Association. Now, that's the smallest out of all of them. In their recent AGM, they just announced they've got 100 grand in the bank account. Now, I live in Winsford, and it's a small town, and I know how many people in Winsford go fishing, and I can guarantee you 100% that 100 grand is not from local anglers, it's from associations members, people who live outside the area and come into the area because they've been invited by the committee and the association. So, what these associations seem to forget is that local people is no longer their waters, they're association waters. So, as time's gone on, I ended up calling them the local banjo flickers because of their attitude, of the way they are to people who come out of the area and into the area, and it's like it's mad. It's 20 years of it, like, you know what I mean. So as time's gone on, that generation has sort of spread it onto the new generation. Now the new generation of like locals are like they're the real oddballs, right? They seem to think local waters for local people, like 20 years later, after taking 20 years of associate members' money. And they will do anything to try and like stop anyone from outside the area from like catching or being productive. Now, I don't call them banjo flickers, I call them clowns because basically, the publicity bans have been lifted. Now, these like clowns now who live in the local postcode, they publicise all the fish, and then they seem to think you can only publicise when we say. So at the end of the day, I've got a little hardcore of haters who like pass it all on to everyone else. But at the end of the day, that's not angling, right? I don't know what all that's all about. You go down, you fish, you catch your fish. If you want to publicise it, publicise it. If you don't, you don't. It's up to you, mate. No man has the right to tell you not to publicise your fish if if there's no publicity bans. You don't understand. It's actually bullying, you know what I mean? But like, I don't give in to bullies, I pay no attention to them, It's fishing, you go fishing, you do what you do, belongs you within the rules of the association. It's got nothing to do with anyone else. And, you know, if you don't want to watch this video, turn off now, because what's the point of torturing yourself and creating jealousy and envy? It's pathetic. It's just fishing. You go fishing, you do what you do, and that's that. Stay within the rules, and you're laughing. Right, that's my little soapbox. before all like the haters come on and start like putting negative comments on and all that. You're wasting your time because it don't affect me. I've just brought it up. And the reason I brought this up is because we're going to go back now to 1990. 1990, it was a very young age. I was still living with my parents. I used to have a good friend, and he still is now. You know, I've known him since he was about 9, and his name is Dave. I'm not going to give his full name because he doesn't want to go. He doesn't want all that. Like, I mean, he goes under the anonymous name on the social media, so I'm going to respect that. So I'm just going to call him Dave, my mate Dave. Yeah. Now, basically, Dave encouraged me to go angling when I was younger. He kept me off the streets of Liverpool. You know, he'd take me out fishing at the weekend. Um, and you know, he'd check up on me through the week when I was knocking around the shops, being a rebel really, and you know, and he was good for me. You know, he made me today what I've caught and everything else. It's all down to this guy, really. He's my angling hero. There's no one on the carp scene or anyone in any fishing scene that's my hero. You know, I don't look up to anyone. You know, you do what you do, you go fishing. But the only person I've really looked up to and respected and listened to is my good friend Dave. Now, I've mentioned it to him that I'm going to be doing this. Confessions of a Scouse carp angler. 20 years in the Cheshire Carp Valley. And he's give it the nod. He said, Joe, get on with it. Do your story, mate. So, 1990, sat in my parents' house. And next minute, phone rings. Stops. Phone rings again. That's for me. We had a little cold, me and my mate Dave. You know, he'd ring me out twice. It was just to like how to respect to me parents because they didn't like back in the day. Parents didn't like you using the phone. It was their property, and you had to be an adult to use a phone then, not like it is now. Yeah. So I get the 2 phone calls, picks up the phone, and I hear Dave's voice. Joe, what are you doing now? I said, nothing, mate. I'm sat in my house. You know, I'm about to go out, but I ain't done nothing. I'm not doing nothing really. Right, we're on our way back. And in the background, I could hear his mate Stu going, fucking hell, Joe, you want to see what we've caught? Want to hear what we've caught? And all this. So the next minute, like, you know, I'm listening to them and they're like going, oh, it's unbelievable what we've caught, Joe. It's mental, it's mental. So I was going, okay, yeah, sound, come round to mine, man. You know, pick me up, Dave, and we'll have a little talk about it. So the next minute, I could hear my mother in the background going, Joseph, you I was going over. So I had these two going like berserk over the fish, or well, over a couple of fish. And my mother shouting, "Get off that!" So it was like, oh, put the phone. I said, look, lads, come round and pick me up. You know, put the phone down. It actually phoned me from a phone box in Winsford, Cheshire. So I stayed in, and they come round to the house, and both of them come up the path to my mother's house, and Joe, he's had like 28. I've had a 23. You know, we've had like another 420s, all around 20 and 23 pound. We've had 7 fish, and all of them have been 20 pound big. Now, back then in 1990, in the whole of Liverpool, which is a big city, there wasn't even a 20 pound carp in it. At the most, you struggled to get a double. A double was a result. So as they go on, he's told me the stories how they fished the lake, and there was a little channel there that goes into another pond, and there's a big pond. There's a main lake, and it's got a channel, and it goes into another pond. So I'm hearing all these stories and that, like, and I'm stood there, and I'm a bit of a kid then, 1990, it's a young age then, it's like 1990, 2000. This is like 10 years, and then like another 20 years. So we're talking 33 years ago, I'm 50 years of age now. You take away 33 from 50, that's how old I was, right? So we're talking 17 then, you know? And at that time, I was just fishing farm ponds. I was getting on my bike and I was going fishing the farm ponds and everything else. It was good fun fishing then. Getting on your bike, or we used to get trolleys, shopping trolleys. And we used to put our Shakespeare baskets on them, and we used to pull them down the pond. When you got back in, you got a good hiding off your man because you like broke the wheel on a trolley and stuff like that. So it was all good fun. I mean, those days back then when I was 17, I've just come through the stage of like being in school. Oh God, when I was in school, it was a nightmare. I went to 3 different schools. I did because I liked it that much, and social services, they always knew where to find me. They used to find me down the Millies, or at the Carpy, or at the Doggy, the Lady, and the Blackie, which are all little farm ponds around the area where I grew up in Speak, Liverpool. And Speak, Liverpool, as you know, some of you might know, it's the John Lennon Airport now, but it's like the edge of Liverpool connecting over to Cheshire. So I was doing all that type of fishing and that, like, and to have Dave and Stu knock on the door and tell me about these carp, and the area itself is full of carp and everything else, it gives me something to inspire to. It was like this was just like this was like top of the range fishing then. It was like a real top secret. And in Liverpool, really, there was no carp anglers, very few and far between. You later on in life, I met a few that when we went on to Coldstones Park, but that's another story. So obviously, I'm going to get a little bit sidetracked because I'm going to give you the little bits of briefer details and everything else. And some of the photos you're going to see, they're not of good quality, and some of the filming that you see is not of good quality. I'm just like you, and just like a normal person who goes fishing, and I try to spend as little as possible, not as much as possible. So back to the story. So 1990, I've been told about these carp. Now he's told me the name of the place, which at the time it was a day ticket water. Now it's a syndicate water, and there's a publicity ban on there, and they don't really want you to not want anyone else to know where it is. So I'm not going to mention this lake because it's not an association. Um, and the rules are on this syndicate now: no publicity. Don't be telling me one. It's all by invite and everything else, which is fair enough. People own the land. Um, and people pay like, a couple of hundred, few hundred quid a year to fish there. And it's a good community down there, I've been part of it later on in life, which will come up in the story. So he's told me about this day ticket water, and he showed me the pictures and all that. And I was shaking, to tell you the truth. As a young man, you're easily impressed when you're a young man. And, you know, these two guys proper impressed me, uh, especially Dave. When we were younger, he used to fish the matches, and he used to catch a few fish, and he used to win matches. And he's a specimen angler. He's an all-round angler. He doesn't mind going sea fishing, trout fishing. He does all aspects of fishing. My mate Dave, and he's a very good angler. And back then when you were 17, he influenced me a lot. I call him me fishing dad, really. He's Without him, I don't think I'd be gone where I've gone in me fishing and everything else. With major encouragement, and he's me fishing dad, and that's that. Um, so it was a big influence that day. and when they showed me the photos, I kept it in mind. So I carried on fishing, my local ponds and local farm ponds, catching singles, catching doubles, and then all of a sudden, Coldstones Park started throwing a £20 carp coming up and a £20 mirror. So I spent the rest of my years trying to go when you're 17, you're 18, 19, 20, 21, and all that. All you want to do is get drunk, chase women, just the normal things that you do. And fishing, really, it was just sometimes you go out twice a month, once a month, and then I started really enjoying this carp fishing bit because you could camp and do whatever you do when you're camping and put the fishing rod out and put some alarms on it and stuff like that, and it started to become really enjoyable to the point where the local club pond then in Speak was the Millies, and they had carp in them. The some way or another, they they got these carp and they were put in this lake, and I caught the biggest carp out of there at £12 then, but back then it £12 are they never even got landed. So this is the way it was back then. It was we were carp starved, So 1995 come, I had my first vehicle, and the first thing that clicked in my head, I've got this car now, I'm gonna start adventuring into Cheshire and Shropshire. Now, the reason I went into Shropshire was because of a very classic book. And I've got this book and I read this book. It's the first book I read in my life. And there's only been one more of the carp book that I've read since then because they just totally set me up for the rest of my life. And carried on. And I used these books to be able to help me fish. So let me just get a minute. As far as I'm concerned, these two books are the Bible to carp fishing, modern carp fishing. I know for a fact I'm 50 years of age, and I know there's a lot of people around my age who have read these books and has influenced their fishing. And it's been a platform, a start. This is the heart. This was the heart of my carp fishing. Tim Paisley, Big Carp, and Richie MacDonald on carp. Just this one is so full of information. It's unreal. And this is why carp anglers have probably turned out the way they are now, is because of this book. And this guy here was a big influence down south. So these two people have probably been a big, big influence back in the day to carp fishing and the way it is now. So from now on, I'm going to go now to 1995. I got in touch with my old mate Dave, and I said to him, right, that day ticket water that you and Stu caught those fish on, I want to go and fish it. So he said to me, yeah, no worries, Joe. You remember the name of it, don't you? And I went, yeah. He says, here's the guy's phone number. Put the phone number down. Write this number down. So I wrote the number down. And he says, get a Cheshire A to Z. You'll find it. Yeah, but what roads do we take there? Never mind all that, what roads you take. You want to go and catch those carp? Get an A to Z. And you'll find it, Joe. You will find it, Joe. That's all part of angling. So I thought, right, let's give her a go. So Dave and Stu, basically, this is where I should have realised and understood. They got stopped from fishing that day ticket water because a local angler accused them of stealing the fish. Back then, people were easily influenced. So you can imagine a private landowner trying to create a bit of fishing that puts a bit of money in his pocket, gets told that my mate Dave and Stu was robbing the fish. Obviously, they phoned up and instant ban. Don't want you on me water. You're a fish robber, which was a load of nonsense made up by local people again because they caught fish. So the jealousy had kicked in and the envious had kicked in, and they just got them banned from the lake, which is sad, really. So I had this, and I knew this would happen, but I thought, won't happen to me. So I phoned up the guy because you had to phone him in the evening to let him know that you were coming back down in the day. So I phoned him up and arranged to be there the next morning. He told me to get there for 7 o'clock in the morning. He opens the gates. So I gets down there at 7 o'clock in the morning, buzzes the intercom, no reply. I'm thinking, hold on, I've just drove all the way from Liverpool. I've got a fiver in my pocket to go fishing, and he's not answering. I'm thinking, how cheeky is that? How ungrateful's that? I had someone else with me, so that would have been the £10 for the day, and he couldn't even be bothered opening the gate or answering the intercom at the gate. So I thought, you know what? Let's go and find somewhere else. I'm not travelling all the way from Liverpool. And then I'm not being able to go fishing. So because of this A to Z, which he had, and I'd seen all the waters, the person who he had with me then, I looked at him and I says to him, look, mate, don't worry about it. He hasn't answered the gate. This is the Cheshire Carp Valley, this. Look at all these waters. And we looked at the waters. They were, like I said, they were like you got the River Weaver, and then on the Winsford side, you know, you had the lakes. It was the lake side of the River Weaver, really. And, you know, there was loads of lakes there. But when you look at it A to Z, you just see blue, 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 blue. So I said to the person we had at the time, I said, come on, let's go and look at this bit of blue here, this small bit of blue, and this big bit of blue. So we've gone down there, we've looked at the A to Z, and we've gone, yeah, we'll go to this bit of blue here. And you know what? That was probably the best thing that's ever happened to me. And it took me like this long to realise, 33 years, to realise that that was the start of a path to other waters. The best thing he done was not let me on that water, because then I discovered the lake. We drove down to it. We had a fiver each. All of a sudden we seen this lake, and it had a sign on it saying day tickets only, 30p. Happy days. Couldn't believe it. Just saved ourselves loads of money, and we found the water. That was a day ticket water, and it was 30p. So we've gone down there, and we've walked. I've got down there. I parked the van up, and we've walked around it and that, like, and couldn't believe it. First couple of swims, there was 30 carp there. You know, it was just like, oh, this is easy. This is going to be easy. So we fished it and that, like, we had a little go and that, like, and you know, I had 7, and the person who was with had 6. Next minute, a bailiff come down. Hey up, lads, what are you? I've caught any. Sorry. Hey up, lads, you had out. That was how they spoke then. And I went, yeah, you know, we've had a couple, mister. Oh, have you? He says, yeah. He says, have you got your cards? I said, I haven't got a card, mate. I've got 60p for you. He said, 60p. This is what it says. Day tickets, make sure you get day tickets, 30p. He says, no, you don't understand. He said, you've got to be a member of the club and also get a day ticket from the local post office or local news agent. I was like, sorry, mate, we'll pack up, we'll go. We didn't realise that. We just seen the sign, 30 pence a ticket for a day ticket. So we looked at us and he went, where are you from? We said, well, we're from Liverpool, like, we've travelled down here to Liverpool, like, you know. And he said to me, I am, lads. Don't worry about it. Give me the price of a packet of fags and you can stay. Now, we had this big German Shepherd with us, and every time he's talking to us, this German Shepherd's coming over to us and he's pulling it back and he's going, stop, be going. It was a bit intimidating, really. You know what I mean? When you're a young man and that, like, you just don't really want to tangle with all that. So I just said to him, no, mate, you're okay, mate. We haven't got a card. We didn't know. We just seen the 30 pence sign. So we'll go, mate. I'm not going to give you the price of a packet of cigarettes. We'll just go, mate, and we'll find out about getting a card. So he goes, no, lads, it's okay. Just stay here. It's no problem. Give me the pack. Like I say, give me the price of a packet of fags. Anyone says anything to you, just tell them Tommy said it's all right. Tell him I had my dog with me as well, the German Shepherd, and tell Tommy said it's all right. And I just looked at him and I just said to him, nah, you're okay, mate. I says, we've had 13 fish. We've done 7 hours. He said, we're going to get off, mate. We'll just get off. We've got another pond to look at. Well, that pond that we were on was actually called New Pool. And New Pool, it become a big part of my future. Um, so we pulled off and we went to another lake just up the road from it, huge lake, and that was called Petty Pool. So the first time I walked on these associate waters was literally like 33 years ago, a long time ago. And as time's progressed, Cheshire's become my local area, and now I actually live in Winsford. So they're my local waters that I fish as an associate member. So I've been an associate member and a local member. So, as the time go on now, you'll see these waters that I found 33 years ago and I called the Cheshire Carp Valley, you know, and that's why this is going off now. This is why I'm recording this now. I've fished in the Cheshire Carp area on and off for 20 years and I've had some great captures, historic captures really, but like locals won't take that on board because I'm not a local, but you know, I've had some historic captures and some record weights, and I've watched fish grown. I've had to watch them grow because, like, up here in Cheshire, we're always £15 behind down south. So this is why this is recording. This little chapter's being put up on YouTube. It's because it's my carp fishing. It's 20 years of fishing in an area that I call the Cheshire Carp Valley. So if you've been bored to death, it's 33 minutes now. I've got to give you the intro so you understand, about what it's all about and everything else. So those who have stayed, the captures are coming, and those who haven't, no great loss, is it? So we're going to go, I'll show you a few photos now of the first few fish that I caught in the Cheshire Carp Valley. It was New Pool and Petty Pool. By the time I went down there and I fished Petty Pool, I think it was 1995, 96. I got a Northwich card and we went on there Um, oh, it was a lovely lake on me, like the path, the road that you drive down, and you come to where you hit a car park, you come out the car park, and the next minute, bang, a big Cheshire pond, big Cheshire mere. When I first went down there, oh, I tell you what, there was fish everywhere. They were bound. You walked up the path, bearing in mind, then, you know, there was only 12 pegs, and you walked up the path, and no, there was fish jumping everywhere. At the time, I had my partner with me, and she come down. We had a little bit of fishing on there, and it was like I baited it up 3 times. In between fishing Doddington, and I had a Shropshire ticket then as well. So Shropshire was like, had to be part of me carp fishing. But this area that I found, it was special. Had the rivers, ponds, canals. It was special to me. It was real special. I felt like I'd found something really special. No one told me about it except they didn't know anything about it. So I've gone on this petty pool and all that lake, and I've looked at it and all that. First trip, we had 2 doubles off it. But at the time, I was fishing Doddington and all, and I had my Ellesmere ticket. So it was like, I could go fishing for 2 or 3 days. It was great. But this petty pool, it was days only. You could only fish from, I think it was 6 o'clock till 10:30. And I just looked at my partner and I just said, it's beautiful here. I said, this is definitely going to be an old man's pool. There's too much fishing to do where I can drive down, do a couple of days and or do nights and make something of the journey that you've come from Liverpool. Whereas travelling down from Liverpool and doing days, not a chance. And I looked at myself, I looked and I thought, a lot of doubles and 20s in here, I can catch them out all over the place. I can reserve this one for when I get an old man. So petty pool to me was always old man's pool because it had old man's ways. The rules were cut in stone, just really to stop outside members coming down and fishing it. Really, it's the only principle really that was going on. You know, at the time, Northwich Angling Association owned the pond, well, run the pond. But back in the day, they used to let like Middlewich anglers fish it and Windsor anglers fish it, but it's always been Northwich waters and Northwich water. So, like you say, that was old man's pool. And then to me, and I went out and fished Shropshire and another Cheshire mere called Doddington Hall. And then I actually fished Farmwood as well. And that was run by the Carp Society. I had a disaster with my van, I fished it the first year, done 2 week trips on it. Didn't catch nothing. And then the second year I went on and I had a 26. And then the fishing just got stopped. Then it got turned into not like a syndicate, a major syndicate, totally private. Guy bought the house down there, and that was it. It was all too. It's all too much for me, like paying 500. I'm paying £500. I paid £300. And that was my limit. Then I thought I'd never go past £300 just for a bit of fishing. It was pathetic. I come from Liverpool. Fishing's free. But that's what I mean. That's my attitude. So, and I never went back. I went back. I never went back into the Cheshire. I never stayed in the Cheshire Carp Valley. I knew what his potentials was, and then I just basically went into Shropshire and everything else, and stayed away from it. And then started hearing things about a place called Top Flash, and it was in the Cheshire Carp Valley that I'd found. It done a 35. It done 30 plus mirrors, and it done a common, and it was touching like 38. That was a huge fish back then. Absolute huge fish. So I had this Top Flash in my head, and it was now like 2003. I'd fished the Shropshire Meres. I'd met a couple of people on I'd fished Sisley Mill, and I realised in Cheshire that, you know, two-tone fish were like the bigger fish, and top flash had two-tone fish in it. So I had all this information that they were all fed by the river and everything else, and a guy called Brian Lightfoot stocked the fish in the River Weaver in 1975. These fish had been spread all over the Cheshire Carp Valley, and they were all growing, but at a slow rate. So in my head, Top Flash was the one that was calling me back to the Cheshire Carp Valley because the fish had matured and they'd gone to big sizes. I was fishing in Shropshire for a two-tone fish, where at the time it was the biggest common in Shropshire. It was banging on 36, 38. So I had this Shropshire fish and also the top flash fish. They were all two tones. The mirror of the name was two tone, and the common in there was two tone. I had a Sicily Mill common, and that was a two tone. So it was quite evidently and quite clearly the two tone fish in Cheshire and the surrounding areas were the ones that were the big fish, and they're the ones that I started targeting two-tone fish. So this mere that we're in Shropshire where the common was, that was like it was every 6 years it got caught. So I stayed on that water for quite a bit, just fishing between June and October. And then 2003 come. That was the year. I returned to the Cheshire Carp Valley, and that's where it all started. I'd done my pioneering, chasing, over in Shropshire and and like fishing different Cheshire waters. I had to put my feet firmly down and start fishing top flash and put up with all the banjo flickers.
When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of a storm.
Right, so it's 2003 now, and God, it was a mighty busy year, 2003. As I said earlier on, I was in Shropshire at the time. Basically, one of the lads I you know, we ended up being on the committee. I got asked to be on the Ellesmere Angling Club committee, which was a big honour, really, because, there's a boundary on Ellesmere Angling Club. Basically, they have inside members and outside members, and to have an outside member go on the committee was quite an honour. I didn't ask, I was asked to go on the committee. Now, well, Tony Fielding, some of you might know him as Tony the Rat, rat by name, rat by nature, as they say. Well, me and Tony, we travelled from Liverpool, and we used to, it was just under an hour's drive to where we were going, and then like we'd stay there for 3 hours, drive home at 10:30 at night, and go and do the committee meetings. But like, as a committee, the year I was there, we done a lot of good work. I threw a fishery management program together. I've passed it on to other people, and they've used it in clubs that I'm fishing now in Northwich. So all that effort, really, it did have good things come along. So I don't regret that. And, I don't regret going to Ellesmere Angling Club and being part of the committee, even though the next year I didn't have any funds to buy me card. And basically they said, we don't want you to be on the committee no more. You're going to be a member now, and you got to join. So I never saved any money. So I was struggling, and basically, like, that was the end of the Ellesmere committee. But going back to 2003, me and Tony, we'd won the first week on Hardwick Pool. It was a days only water, and the committee decided to make it into being, doing nights. And the committee was going to start doing the nights and see how it goes. And we were also going to use that as our local stock pond for the Ellesmere Club, Angling Club. So me and Tony, we come out the draw first. The first people to ever night fish this Hardwick Lake, and we were outside members. As you can gather, me and Tony were pissing ourselves laughing with how the hell it happened. How's this happened, Joe? So a couple of local lads, they said to me, Joe, you'll love this Hardwick. And I said, why is that? Because the biggest common in there, it's around 25, 26, and it's a two-tone. I was like, what? So really, it was like, I wanted to catch big fish in Shropshire, really. That was worth doing the travel. I didn't want to sit on waters where, we had a lot of doubles and 20s, But when I was told that this biggest fish that's ever been caught in there is two-tone, I was well up for it. I thought, that'll do me, you know what I mean? I can spare I'll spare 48 hours and go and do our nights fishing on there, 2 nights fishing on there. That was the plan, let the committee go on, do 48 hours, see how it goes, and then let the members come on for 48 hours. Iron any problems out before the members come on. So that was planned. Basically for like May, June. I'd like to think it was the first week in June. And it was clashing really with Top Flash, but I weren't too bothered about that little clash because I didn't want to be on Top Flash first week really, because I knew that through people telling me, Joe, don't go on the first week. The banjo flickers will be there and they'll try and put you off straight away. So I just thought, well, I'll leave the first week on Top Flash, and go on to Ellesmere Angling Club in a lake called Hardwick Lakes in Ellesmere. So that was planned in. Then I had to plan in to see what I was going to. I plan in Top Flash as well. So my plan was I also had a Wheelock ticket. So I fished Wheelock in the spring, and then went over to Ellesmere Angling Club. Now Wheelock's, it's another little town in Cheshire, and its own little private club. It's not an association. So, there's no publicity bans on it, So I just basically spring 2003 crab mill, and then come May, I go to Ellesmere Angling Club because I do the work parties, and you're allowed to fish in May. Bit of May, I'd go over to Ellesmere Angling Club and fish May. I'd fish there. I think I fished Newtonmere. I had 1 or 2 off there, and then we went onto this Hardwick Lake. Couldn't believe it. And me and Tony, we absolutely smashed it. I mean, everyone was chucking over to the far side when they fished Hardwick Lakes. I strolled down there in my swim. I've just seen about 6, 7 fish just rolling in the margin. So I fished for them really. I didn't even slash one over the side. I just put 2 in the margins. One was about 25 yards and the other one was about 30 yards. To the right of the pond, it was sort of like it went off to a dog right, and I had all that little water to myself, but it was full of fish. So we ended up, Tony was laughing his head off. I hadn't caught nothing yet. Tony had about 3 fish, and then all of a sudden, around about 3 o'clock in the morning, it kicked off in my swim, and it never stopped from 3 o'clock in the morning all the way through till 7 o'clock in the morning. In the end, I ended up with 12 fish, and then on my 13 fish, it wasn't unlucky. I had the biggest common out of there at 25 pound, and it was a two-tone as well. So it just started the year off then, and it was sort of like two-tones, you know what I mean, and big commons and everything else. So I've just had that 25 pound common. I've finished on crab. I think I had 220s on crab. So it was starting to be a good year, Crab Mill's not easy water. It was hard then. It was very circuit. So to have two off there and then to go on to Ellesmere Angling Club after that two-tone, I was on a high, mate. So, coming over to Top Flash, all confidence was high. Everything I was doing was right. The rig was right. I'd made up my own little light rig for sand and margin fishing. And everything was right. So I walked on this Top Flash and I went on with what they call, a local, a Cheshire hotshot. Went on there with him, and honest to God, he didn't catch a thing. It was embarrassing, really. That guy calling himself hotshot, and he wasn't even catching. He'd been on Ellesmere, he hadn't had nothing, and he'd come down this Top Flash, and he was giving it the old hotshot chat. I just ignored them, me. I just get on with my own thing, leading to it. And then when they piss me off every now and then, they get put straight, and that's that. But we went on this Top Flash. My first trip, the this Cheshire hotshot, he was telling me you need to be in this swim, you need to be in that swim. This is where this fish come from at this year. This is where that come from. Honest to God, it was just like, yeah, okay, mate, yeah, fine. So walked onto Top Flash. I couldn't believe it. It was like June. It was like really hot. It had a weird opening day. So I had a weird opening week. So I think it was about the second week that I got on Top Flash, but it weren't actually like June. It was just before June 16th. I think it was the second week. Ardwick was the first week in June, and Top Flash was the second week in June. Now I went down to Top Flash, and you know there's a lot of pressure down. It's a busy circuit water, and you know it's supposed to be mega hard and everything else. So my first trip on there was a northeasterly. I was new in that, and I knew where the northeasterly was blowing. So I whizzed down there, and I let the Cheshire hot shots get on the hot spots and the hot swims and everything else. All their knowledge that they've been told by everyone else, they've used it and carried on with the fishing. Whereas myself, I didn't have all that knowledge. I didn't listen to all the stories. I just went down and fished because at the end of the day, the best areas aren't always the best areas. They're just fished more. So I was trying to look really for an area that wasn't fished. So I got down there and I went, oh my God, look at this wind banging into these bulrushes here. And there's a fallen tree into it. Thought, oh, fancy that, mate. So the next minute, Cheshire Hotshot said to me, don't want to go in there. I said, why is that, mate? Oh, it's called the lazy nod because all the noddy anglers go on there, i.e., float, maggot drowners, float anglers. And I looked at him and I says, oh yeah. And he went, yeah, yeah, don't go in there, mate. Shit, you get ripped to fuck. I'm thinking, get ripped to fuck. There's a brand new northeasterly in there, a set of bulrushes and a tree hanging over in the water. I know where I'm going, mate. So I said to him, I'm going on the lazy nod. Oh, fuck, I'm not going nowhere near that. So literally had the rods in. You got down there for 6 o'clock. Literally had the rod in for an hour. Oh, it screamed off. I hit the rod and that night. By the time I hit the rod, it pulled that much line off and run away from the margin. It was like 30 yards out. I'd literally flicked it a rod length out. I hit it and it was like fighting like mad. And I thought, oh, this is a double. So I played it and there he was. It was a £17 common. Now, after that, I thought, well, there's got to be a few fish there. So I put half a kilo in and fished double 14. Just thinking to get away from the smaller fish. About 10 o'clock in the morning, it's off again. This time, a 26 common. Oh, it was glorious. It was a glorious common, absolutely glorious. great shape and everything. And then the Cheshire hotshot come round and he's saying, "Oh, you've got a 26." I went, "Yeah." He went, "Oh, you're not even asked." "Look, mate, I just want to get the rod back in again. You're going to take photos." I was like, yeah, I'll take your photos. I said, "Come on, mate, hurry up before someone comes down." "You know that common's probably my personal best." I went, "Yeah, mate, but it's not mine, is it? It's not my personal best. I've just had a 25 common last week, mate, and now I've had a 26 common. What's the problem? I've had a 32 pound common as well. So that's my personal best. So what are you getting at?" "What am I getting at?" He says, "My personal best common's only £23. You should be over the moon." "Why, mate?" "Because you beat my personal best." And I was like, "What? You've just beat my personal best." "No, mate, I've beat your personal best in the last 2 weeks. So I don't understand. You're going to take photos or what? I don't need all this, mate. Let's get the photos done. Get it back in. None of the banjo flickers can come down and rob the swim. They don't even fish here, you dummy. It's the lazy knob. No one goes here. So if I've had a £17 and a 26, the last thing I want is the banjo flickers to know. Come on, let's take the photo." So he took the photo and he done exactly the same as Tony the Rat. Took the photos, threw the camera on the floor and walked off. Oh, I was pissing myself laughing. He didn't actually just walked off. He said, "Oh, I'm sick of this. Why are people catching bigger commons than me?" Went off almost crying. I'm pissed off. I just thought, oh, you know what? Don't need this. So carried on fishing and everything else. And then I get a phone call then off, which you won't believe. I got a phone call then off a syndicate leader in the valley. It was the Syndicate Valley, the Valley Syndicate. And he says, "Hi, Joe." He says, "I believe you've just had a 26 common, haven't you?" And I went, yeah. He goes, "Come down to my caravan at the lake. Tell us all about it." I was like, "What?" He says, "Oh, I believe you're sleeping in your car, aren't you?" And I went, "Yeah." He says, "Oh, you don't have to do that. Come down to my caravan." I was like, "Wow, that's all right, isn't it?" So he says, "Yeah, okay, no worries." So at the end of the trip, the Cheshire Hotshot said, "Right, I'm going back to the caravan. Where are you going?" "Into your car?" And I went, "No, actually, mate, I've just had the phone call off the syndicate leader. He's invited me down to the caravan." "What?" "He's invited me down to the caravan to stay there tonight. Save sleeping in my car or going back to Liverpool." "What do you mean?" I says, "Well, that's what he's just phoned me up now and said, do you want to come down the caravan and stay there?" So I went down the caravan and, there he was, the syndicate leader with a couple of his mates and a couple of syndicate members. And we had a good old laugh. It was jolly. It was great. The Cheshire hotshot drove back to Runcorn. Didn't want part of it. He's jealous and envious. My name was Joe the Blank. So as you can imagine how much that hurt a young hotshot. Tears, anger, trying to stop me from the caravan. But the syndicate leader knew what he was like and he invited me over. So, I went up to the syndicate, drove down there. And you're not going to believe this. It was actually only it was a day ticket water and it's been made into a syndicate water. So that place really is, has been a big part of like me angling and helping me fish the Cheshire Carp Valley. First of all, I went for a day ticket. He refused me. So then I had the chance to go to Newpool and see Pettypool. Now I'm back on Top Flash in 2003, almost 8 years ago. I'm sat in there after my first trip on Top Flash with the syndicate lads having a jolly. Yeah, it was brilliant. I think the jolly went on to about 2 o'clock in the morning. The lads didn't even fish. They didn't even get the rods out. They just sat in the caravan and had a good old laugh. It was ace. And then I got off at 2 o'clock in the morning. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. I fell asleep. I was bang up again at 6 o'clock in the morning, back down top flash for another day session. So went back down there, never caught nothing. And then I get another phone call. Oh, hi, Joe, the syndicate leader. Um, are you still on top flash? Yeah, yeah. Come down and see us before you go home. So I says, yeah, no worries. So I popped down and seen him. We had a little chat and all that. Like, and he says, listen, Joe, he says, the syndicate members, they all want you down here, mate. They've got no issue with you being down here. They quite like the fact that you're down here. And if you're interested, I'm going to put you on the waiting list to be in the syndicate. I thought, oh, that's all right, isn't it? He said, in the meantime, he said, while you're fishing top flash, don't go driving down to Liverpool, back to Liverpool, and don't be sleeping in your car. Come down the caravan, use it as a home base, and catch as many fish as you can off top flash. I was stood there and I was stunned. Absolutely stunned because this Cheshire hotshot, he was part of the syndicate and he tried to stop me from going there, but the syndicate leader overrid it and invited me to be there. Oh, it was graceful. I got so much respect for that man. He knows who he is if he's watching it because he's carried on that syndicate and he's gone through a lot to keep it there. And so if you're watching, syndicate leader, you know who you are. Thank you very much for helping me in my carp fishing. You're a proper gentleman, and I hope all the best of luck with the syndicate and your angling. It was funny as well. While I was there, I met a guy called Mike Carlon. He was a cartoon caricature, and we ended up going down to all the shows and that like it, so we can do his caricatures. And I went down there to try and raise awareness of the English Carp Heritage Organisation, and also like get a few like bits and bobs for junior events that I was going to be running. So it was a good time on Top Flash for me. I was set up, it was set up Top Flash. June the 16th was coming the next week, and I had to go down to Crowsmere then on the Ellesmere Angling Club because the other two-tone was there at £38 two-tone. So I skipped over to opening week. I spent a week on Crowsmere for opening week, and I had one off there as well. I think that was like a low 20, like 22, 23. The hotshot come down and followed me down there. Like he apologised for his behaviour. He had come up with some sort of excuse, and so I just said, "Yeah, no worries." I weren't really asked now. I'd found my place on Top Flash. This guy was not really needed. He was an irritating little get anyway. So really, I was trying to like distance myself away from him because everywhere we went, there was always arguments or people like, when he walked away, people said, stay away from him, he's a little gobshite and stuff like that. But so, unfortunately, I met him on Ellesmere Angling Club and I went down, I said, I'm going to fish Top Flash. And then he went, oh, come and introduce me to the syndicate leader. But that was it. That's all I got out of him, really. He hasn't had no influence on my fishing whatsoever. If anything hits me, he's had influence on him because he's just a bit of a kid, really. But I'm an older kid. I think he was in his 20s, he went like me in my 30s, 20s, 25, between 20 and 25. I don't know how old he was. He was old enough to be responsible for his own behaviour. Let's put it that way. So I goes on to Crowsmere and, I has a 20 and, it was a classic £20 Shropshire fish, it was like a near leather. You could tell where it had come from. It had come from the Ellesmere Angling Club, and they put it in, and they had like, right, they were able to stock, so they put a couple of fish in it, stuff like that. And the fish that were in Crowsmere, they're just totally unique. An amazing fish, amazing fish. There was only about 20 in it. I think that the lake itself's about 50 acres or something like that. But it was hardcore fishing, It was amazing, really. I used to go down there for a week. I'd see no one for a whole week, So it was good times, at the time though, we don't realise that, all I had on my head was you know, this top flash. I had to go back to this top flash. I had to try and catch this two-tone mirror and this two-tone common. And also keep my hand in on Crowsmere. So June the 16th was done, the week session was done, and then it was back down to top flash then. I'd got rid of the Cheshire hot shot. He was doing his own things, and I just left him to it. And then I used to go down the syndicate, and you know, we'd get down there and like we'd have a jolly of an evening, and then I'd go to top flash. Or sometimes, you know, we you know, I'd say to the lads, "Come on, do you fancy coming over to Newpool?" Like Newpool become a social water. You could go on there and like you could end up with 10 fish in a full day. You know, you go down in the morning, you could get 2 or 3. Bearing in mind it was very prolific then and had a lot of fish in it then. And you know, it was still the old 30 pence thing, only had a 30 pence ticket. So, you know, it'd be like drive into Winsford, go to the newsagent by the Rifle pub, get your 30 pence ticket and get 4 beers. And anything else anyone else wanted while I was there. It was, you know, from the off the syndicate lads. You say, "Oh, what do you want? Go down, get what they want, get me 4 beers, go back," and then like basically spend the evening there, and then get down to Top Flash for 6 o'clock in the morning. Now I've done 21 days on Top Flash between June and September. So those 21 days, every time I was down, I'd go to the syndicate up, and then it come apparent then about Martin Hole. So I used to I used to go to Top Flash, do a full day on Top Flash at 10:30, and then go down the syndicate up by 11 o'clock at night, go and walk around Martin Hole, and then come back and then get my head down for a few hours, go back down to Top Flash at 6 o'clock. Oh, well, I couldn't believe the things that I used to get up to. It was just unbelievable. You know, I don't know where I got like the energy from. I think, you know, I was running on adrenaline and passion, you know, all these big fish here and all that, like, and I had everything set up, and it was just a case of catching them now, you know, just getting on with it and catching them. So, you know, I'd done a couple of tips that during the day, walking around Martin and all that, like, and everything else, and carried on fishing top flash, you know, making sure. So, say, like, I went down to Winter for 3 days. 2 of the days I'd fish top flash. The rest of the days I'd spend like potting around on the syndicate with the syndicate lads, or I'd walk over to Martin Hole, or I'd have a look at the river, and you know, just be really, really proactive. You know, only stopping to eat and only stopping to sleep. Really, you know, it was great fun. You know, those 21 days that I was on Top Flash between June and September, I also had opportunities to fish the syndicate because the syndicate members used to say to me, "Joe, come and put a rod in." I ended up with a few fish as well, so you know, it was all good. And then I went down there and then done a few blanks, done a few captures. You know, I was catching. It was very easy on Top Flash. It wasn't hard. It was, you know, the rumours that I had. It was hard syndicate water and hard circuit water and all that. It's a bobbins water compared to the waters I fish, like in shops and stuff like that. You know, all you have to do really is walk around. If you see the sign of a fish, just drop it in the margin. You'd have one. Um, you know, in the end, you know, I think I've got about 7 photos of fish, but the amount of fish I had off Top Flash, I think it was getting on to 15. You know, when you have a single or a double, you just slip them back in. You know what I mean? You know, when you've had a double, and it gets a bit, you know, you don't want to be taking photos of singles and doubles all the time. So I was flipping them back in. I think I ended up with 15 fish in 2003. The main fish I sort of photographed, like my first fish was a 17 pounder, and then the 25 plus, you know, you got a photo them, you know. And then I had another one in July, which was like really stuck out to me, was when like Andy Lee was on there, our local one of the banjo flickers. Andy Lee was on with the old school that are like been there for years and all that, like, and he, you know, he seen me had this fish and he's like, "Oh, made up, there hasn't been a fish off for weeks," and it's roasting out, and I had a little double, but that double I had was off the lazy nod again. I couldn't stay away from the lazy nod. I would fish other places, but I always went back to the lazy nod because I knew they were there, and I was waiting for like a northwesterly wind. So every time it was a northeasterly, I jumped on the lazy nod. Then we had another one then, like on my birthday week in July. I done a week down there and didn't catch nothing all week. And then all of a sudden, you know, the pressure dropped and we got a bit of rain and all that. And all of a sudden, it was off then, it was like right feeding dish, another 17 pound coming. And Andy Lee seen it and he went, go on, Joe, yes, is right. And he changed my attitude really, that capture. That's why I made sure I got a photo of it because it changed my attitude. I was always like uptight and like, you know, I wasn't. I was enjoying what I was doing, but it wasn't enjoyable fishing. I was competitive, and just having that fish and seeing Andy's reaction to it. Andy had caught loads of fish in the area, and to see a man carry on like that, it changed my attitude, and it changed me carp fishing. It changed the person who I was really. I've never had anyone like enjoy my capture of fishing, of a fish. It's no one seems to enjoy anyone's captures in Cheshire, but Andy changed that. So thanks for that, Andy Lee. As I've said already to you before, and I'm sorry to call you banjo flicker, but you are a local who thought local waters, local anglers makes banjo flicker. Oh, only messing, Andy. Love you to bits. Anyway, so carried on. I done another trip over in Ellesmere, done another trip in Crabmill. And then that was it then. And it was like September coming. I knew nights are getting darker and all. I had to be back on top flash. So September, July, August, I ended up going back to Ellesmere and Crab. And then September, I got back on top flash. And I couldn't believe it. I seen the northeasterly coming in, and that was me then. On that lazy nod, no one knew about it. I'd seen a big mirror on there, um, and it was linear. And I'd also seen a big mirror off Willow Point, but not to the front, to the right. And it had a little bit of depth there, a little extra foot. So I'd still go down to top flash sometimes, do a couple of hours, lash a load of bait in, and then leave it, and then keep on doing that. So I was baiting that little extra foot to the right on the right hand swim of Willow Point. And I was like baiting a lazy nod still as well. So basically, although I wasn't there July, I wasn't there in August and that like, but I was putting bait in. And like, what I'd do is I'd make the long trip to Ellesmere Angling Club, or I'd make the long trip to fucking Crabmill. Before I went there, I put some bait in, and then I'd come back. What worked on Petty Pool many years ago in '96. So I'd go down, do a few hours, no one there, put a load of bait in on the lazy nod, and on the right hand side of Willow Point, right the way through August, just putting bait in. So there was a lot of bait used. I had the money down. I was working for BT. Money was good. Everything was good, really. Everything was flying. I was catching carp left, right, and centre. No matter where I went, I caught a carp. I just caught carp, and that was it. It was a good year, 2003. So a lot of miles put in, driving from Liverpool to Top Flash, and then from Top Flash to Crabmill, or from Top Flash to Ellesmere Angling Club, right? And then on the way back, I'd go Top Flash home, So it was getting two baitings, every time I went fishing. I didn't fish at just weekends. I fished through the week as well, because I was on a continental shift, which gave me time to be off through the week, which gave me like groups of days to be off and everything, so I could plan it all in. In the meantime, I was walking down that Martin Old place, and next minute I was walking down. I went to the Syndicate. I went to the Syndicate caravan, and I said, "Oh, I'm going to Martin Old, going to have a little look at that." And the Cheshire Hot Shot was there, and he come down with us, and Mr. Know It All. Oh, the aquarium and all that. I said, "Yeah, I'm not been in the aquarium, mate. I just swerved it a couple of times because it's muddy as fuck." I said, "Oh no, you got to come in." You go. I said, "I will, yeah." So he goes in, and we sees these fish. They were 30 plus, and they were 30s, and that was that. So I kept my eye on it. But then I went back to Top Flash then, and I fished the north. We waited for the northeasty to come in September. I goes down there. I had another little double off the lazy nod, and then it went southwesterly the next day. So I whizzed back on the right hand side of the willow point. All of a sudden, there we go. That fish had been seen right on the 7 foot mark. Puts the rod out, 30 baits around it. It was off. Then it was it, it went 35-12. You know what I mean? One of the local banjo flickers were there. Steve Smith, and he weighed it with me, and it was 35, 12 ounces. It's the biggest it's ever been out, and it was a two-tone as well. Couldn't believe it. Over the moon, absolutely over the moon. I couldn't get me. You can't put words to explain how happy and like the immense of it. Like, you know what I mean? I've been catching fish all year since the spring, and next thing I've had a 35 pound for 12 ounce mirror carp, a two-tone one as well. One of them struck off the list. And it was like 2003, like 35 pounders away unheard of, really, only reads me. So that was it then, the grapevine, it hit the grapevine within a day. I mean, the next day after he had the 35, I goes back down to top. The next day I goes back to the caravan after having it. And that was it, like the lads were there and they were like, wait, they had like the Southern Comfort going and everything. I went back down to Top Flash the next morning. I had to actually get someone to drive me down there because I was over the limit, way, way over the limit. So they drove me down there and then picked me up at 10 o'clock and went back down the syndicate. And, that was it again. It was bevy time again. It was party time, So, yeah, lovely times they were. So that was a two-tone mirror course. And, after seeing that 35 in the water and everything else, it was like I knew what a 35 looked like. And then I was going down that Martin Hole, getting in that aquarium. Those fish weren't bigger than 35 then. They were nowhere near it. So I just forgot about it and carried on with Top Flash. I think we sneaked a little. We wanted to sneak, at least a two-nighter in. A little 48 on this Martin Hole. So, Top Flash was built again. I was going back down Top Flash again. Another a northeasterly come in, and I get down there, and I couldn't believe it. Every swim was taken in September. Every swim. And they were all the illegal night fishing brigade. Yeah. You weren't allowed to do nights on Top Flash then, and you had to get a 30 pence ticket. Even the bailiff himself was night fishing. And I think there was about 5 others as well. Well, I just laughed me, And then I'm like, have you had anything? No, we haven't had nothing. This is like our 5th night now, and we haven't had a tap. I was just laughing me. So he says, it's all right, go on the lazy nod. You have that to yourself. Everyone else is still, oh, yeah, son. Bearing in mind, the banjo flickers didn't know I had fish off the lazy nod, so it was always left because they didn't want to go on it because they didn't want to be skittered for being on the lazy nod. So it worked, it worked. The lazy nod worked, you know what I mean? It worked for me. There's fish there. I'd seen a big linear there. Had a couple of commons off it and all that, I don't care if they call me the lazy nod, I caught more fish than them. So, goes on it. Next minute, what happens? I have the second biggest mirror off Top Flash then, and it was biggling. I think it only went 28. That's how much the rest of the fish were down, So we had that at 28, and I had the two-tone at 35. So I went, after I had Big Lynn, I went back and one of the syndicate leaders were there and one of the syndicate members were there and like, he says, oh, don't go down Soft Flash tomorrow, we'll go Newpool. So I said, yeah, all right, no worries. Went down, we put a bit of bait in, went back to caravan, got pissed up with him. And then we drove down to Newpool first, but he never woke up. So I just went and carried on, left him a little letter, see you when you come down. by the time he got down there, I had 4 fish. You know what I mean? It was like Newpool was like you cast out. You know what I mean? Boom, put your rod on the floor, cast the other one out, put that on the floor, get your bang sticks out. By the time you got your bang sticks out, both rods were gone. It was that prolific many years ago. It's a change pond now, anyway. So it was good fun, good fun. The lad the syndicate member, we had a good weekend that weekend. He had 620s off a new water that he joined. I just had Big Lane, we had two-tone, he hadn't celebrated two-tone, so we done our own little celebration in the caravan and finished it off with going to Newpool and having a cracking day. I think I had 11 and he had 12, as much as that, that's the way it was back then. It was a prolific lake and it was brilliant and it was such a lovely, lovely little pond. It's everything you dream of, really. It's really nice. Well, that was 2003, and then I went on to Crab Mill. Then I finished Crab Mill in the autumn. I ended up finishing on Crab Mill and going in the autumn and the winter, and had a couple more fish off Crab Mill. So 2003 was top flash, and that was the main captures really, because I had a 35 pound, 2 pound, two-tone mirror. I had a record weight, the biggest it's ever been out was 33. I had a 35 12 ounces. I had the two-tone common out of Hardwick, which was the biggest fish, and I must have had 30 fish that year, easy. And that was off it was like Hardwick, Top Flash, the Syndicate Valley, and I had Crab Mill, and also went up to see I went up to another day, a day ticket water. Oh God, I forgot the name of it now. Anyway, went up there and I had 2 fish off there, and I was just on fire in 2003. I just caught wherever I wherever I went. It was amazing, really. It was a good year. It was probably one of my best years, really. For catching, you know, 2 pond records. You know what I mean? And catching fish from Hardwick and crab, and it was like 1, 2, 3. It was like 5 different lakes, and I was catching them out. No matter what I'd done, I caught. And that was the way it was. That was 2003. The fish I had was you know, they were big carp, mate. Right, really big carp for the area. I've established myself in my own mind that I could catch big fish and target them, and I'd done it. So the next return on Top Flash, I didn't go back down there then until 2004 winter. I started fishing other places and everything else. Went back down. I'd made too much attention. I mean, I was walking around there in Winter Town Centre to get me food and that, and people were coming up and shaking my hand. I didn't even know them. They were going, "Oh, Joe, aren't you?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, well done on the two-tone and all this," and shaking my hand and all that. And it was getting a bit too much, really. It was like, fucking hell, I ain't going to be able to fight here without everyone knowing. So I sort of moved up. As I went to Crab in 2000, 2003 in the winter, and that, I started making more associations with people in Wheelock and fishing some of their waters, like Brayton Heath and stuff like that. And, I didn't go back till Top Flash till 2004. And then when I did go back in 2004, I fished the winter because I knew the big common come out in the winter, and the banjo flickers weren't there, so they couldn't fuck me up. So they tried. Even Kerry Lord had come down, and he used to, remember one time the whole lake was empty, and he got opposite me. Do you know what I mean? On a very narrow part of Top Flash, what you call the shallows. He got opposite me in the shallows, and I was thinking, for fuck's sake, why would you do that? And it's just basically, it happens, it's just to piss you off, really. So, so anytime they pissed me off, I always went down Top Flash with 5 kilos just in case. Anytime they pissed me off, I just mullered the bait in, bump, bump. They got opposite me and all that. When you're the only person on the lake and the next one, if someone comes down and gets opposite you in the shallows, you know what they're doing. So, me, I give as good as I get. It's as simple as that. And Kerry come down, I threw 5 kilo a bait on the area, and what are you fucking doing, lad? Hey, lad, what are you fucking doing? I just ignored and carried on. packed up, walked past them and said to him, pissing you off, mate, because that's what you've just done to me. See you later, in a bit. Got off. You know, they all do it, you know, they're old school, aren't they, you know what I mean? You gotta cater for them, you know. There are men now that are in the 60s, and if they're watching this now, they'll be fucking, I'm gonna punch his fucking head in. You could punch themselves out of a wet paper bag, but, you know, they've still got, you know, this attitude here, like, you know. And the worst of it is, they've passed it on to the new generation now, and honest to God, the new generation, they're hilarious. They just make me laugh, like, you know. Well, that'll come out in Petty Pool anyway. So, anyway, that was Top Flash, really. And, you know, 2004, back on for the Common in the winter. And then, February, that was October. I went down there, Top Flash, in 2004, and, like, fished it a couple of times and that, like, and then February come, I turned up. Couldn't believe it. Found all the fish dead, you know. And that was enough then. I mean, I found a two-tone dead, buried that, and Biglin, buried that, and buried a load of commons and a few other small mirrors. It wasn't a nice time, really, you know. It popped my head, really. It just made me really upset, like, and wondering what to do next. And basically, I just left the valley. There was nothing left for me now, you know. So I started fishing down south. Started chasing another two-tone down south and another big common. One called Swirly, one called two-tone. Spent 6 years down there. And, you know, I ended up going through a divorce and everything, like, and then, you know, nearly lost my house. And then I was sat in my house on my own and, like, you know, no family there no more. And there was, you know, carp fishing was put on the back heel after fishing in Connonbrook and the Pan. And losing my job and me losing my house. I had to have a break from fishing to sort of like a new life out and make a living and stuff. I ended up getting on the taxis, and then all of a sudden, boom, Martin O, those fish had seen. One had done 39, 15 ounces. It was on the BCSG cover. Someone, a young lad called Jonesy, had caught it and gave his picture to someone in the BCSG to make it a cover picture. And that was where the Martin O fish come out. That's when the public knew. That's when everyone knew about this leather. Was when that young lad Jonesy gave the picture to the BCSG and they put it on their cover. That was it. It was out. Everyone knew about it. People were phoning me up from Kent telling me the likes of Bernard Loftus and everyone was going on about this big leather. So that was Top Flash, and that was 2003, and I've gone on now, and we're going on to the next one now, which is going to be Martin O. The search for the big leather. It was going to be 40 plus. So that's what's coming up next. A few photos here of 2003 when I was last in the valley before the leather. Also the Hardwick fish, a couple of crab millfish, and a couple of you know, the Valley Syndicate. So that's that done. Top Flash 2003.
When you walk through a storm, hold your head up high and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of a storm, there's a golden sky and the sweet silver sound of a lark. Walk on through the wind
Right, so top flash had finished. Found all the fish dead. Was in two minds what to do. Petty pool weren't ready yet. I weren't fishing like you know days traveling from Liverpool and having limited access really. The rules on petty pool, it was just too much to deal with really. I wasn't really in the right frame of mind for it. I still knew there was fish to come through in Cheshire. So it just wasn't worth like putting all the effort in for like 30s and low 30s and things like that. You know, it, it had to be. I had to get out. I had to get out of Cheshire. I had to get out the northwest, and I had to go and do some angling. So we ended up fishing, and like Sutton at home. I had the one off there, and then we went up down to the Pan, done my apprenticeship in Mid-Kent Fisheries, and fished the Pan first, and had a great year. Really, I was told by a couple of lads there for the year I was top rod. Whatever that means. You know, I went down there to try and have a go at swirly. I had it in my swim for about 4 days. Just couldn't get it to bite. And then, you know, Brook, don't even go there with me. It was a nightmare of a lake to fish, really. I've signed in sometimes, and like, Christ, there'd be 100 people come through in the week I was there. Anyway, so Brook really, it was mega hard. The anglers on there and everything else, and it was difficult. Like it wasn't easy. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's no consolation prize. Like, but I have walked out of a swim and then 24 hours later it's been caught 3 times. So that was the end of Kent really, and I was back in Liverpool, and I'd gone through a divorce, and it was I had to go back and save me house. I did try to move down to Kent, but it never worked. So we had to come back to Liverpool, and it was hard times really. 2011, 2012. I ended up getting on the taxis, and while this is all going on, I had a couple of little goes on the canal, Widnes Canal. I had a couple of doubles off it. I even had one night where the whole canal was frozen, and where they fed the ducks, and I just slashed the rods on a pod just outside the van, and I had a couple like that actually. It's just the whole canal was frozen except where they feed the ducks, and I had two doubles off there. So 2011, 2012, I didn't do much angling, but I was getting messages and things like that. Have you heard about this Josh Jones? And I'm thinking, nah, I never heard of him, mate. You should know him. He's Cookie's mate. And then it clicked then who he was and stuff like that. And he's had them leather at 39.15. I says, all right, that's all right, isn't it? I thought, well, that'll beat me personal best now, won't it? After having two-tone at £35. So I I actually you know, Martin Hole, going back to 2003, I did actually do a little 48 on it. And I went to Romania then after it. So, 2003 was a big productive year. I had Romanian fishing that 2003 as well, but there, isn't it? But while I was over in Romania, I met a couple of people there, like who were local to Northwich. I think it was Sandy Huff and a lad called Hugh. And they told me all about the petty fish and everything else, and the Martin Hole fish. So I'm very very keyed up on the history of the fish. So this fish has gone on Martin Hole. It's gone off at 39.15, and accordingly, the picture wasn't given to the BCSG. They don't know how they got hold of it. But if you're looking for anyone, because I know I've been accused of all kinds and had all kinds of rumours and stories told about me. It was Josh Jones who publicised the leather first, and he gave it to a BCSG member, and it went on the cover of the BCSG magazine. So all these guys, right, who have gone on and like pulled me down and give me grief and like a loads of abuse, really. You know, you're out of order. You need to go and speak to Josh Jones and the BCSG because they're the ones who blew the leather out. Yeah, not me. Yeah. And then before me, that great Cheshire angler, one of the top Cheshire angler of the generation now, is Miles Gibson. He had it as well. And to be fair, it was quite good what he said to me. He says, Joe, they're all moaning about it. They're lucky I didn't get Corder to come down and film it. They need to shut their mouths. And you know what? He's right. It's all need to keep that shut. Because Martin Hall, right, didn't have publicity bans on it, right? But it did when Josh Jones had it. Yeah? Do you understand what I'm saying? And he gave it to the BCSG. Yeah? So, you know, at the end of the day, let's get the record straight, right? I never blew the leather out. Yeah? Josh Jones, BCSG, and Miles Gibson done it before me. Yeah? So get it all that right, yeah? So all the people who've gone round and given me crap and all that, right? There's the facts, yeah? Put your head down in shame. Because you're shameless for anglers. And you shouldn't be in the sport, really. Going around and, like, giving people abuse for catching a fish. Get a grip. You know, it's pathetic. You're embarrassing as carp anglers. You really are. It's an embarrassment. You can't call yourself carp anglers. You're just fishermen. And that's that. You don't belong in the sport. And, you know, no one's got no respect for you. Okay? Right? So all those haters, yeah, there's about 1,000 likers behind you. So grow up and sort yourselves out, right? And stop letting carp fishing get to you. Yeah? It's an escape. It's an adventure. It's a bit of fun. It's enjoyable. If you're not enjoying it, leave. Go and fish. Don't do again another hobby because you don't belong in carp fishing. And that's my attitude towards you all, really. You know, all the haters. I've no time for you. Yeah, and the people who go off causing trouble and everything else, making all rumours. Get on with it because you haven't stopped me, and you won't. So, you know, that's how Martin Hall, you know, that was just a little tiny little thought in my head, you know what I mean? But you never spoilt me capture. You know, it was a great capture. The best capture that's been off the leather. Like it all of it, but it was at a record weight and everything. You know what I mean? So that's my little soapbox on it. Get over it. Yeah. So it was 2011, 2012, and like you say, I heard about the leather getting blown out. So I thought, well, I'll go down and fish for it now because it's a personal best. My first year I went down there, you know, Beta took control of Martin Hall on his own back because, you know, it just stops all the madness, and he understood how to run a lake. So it's all in Bert's hands, really. You know, you had to phone up and let Bert know that you were going down. The rules have been changed to 48 hours because it was a hard lake. There was a bit of moaning out the locals again. Why are you letting outside members come down and do 48 hours? You know, I can't do 48 hours. I can only do one night a week. It's not fair that outside members are doing four. I mean, outside members, how cheeky are you? We're not outside members, mate. We're associate members, yeah? And you know what? We put more money and more effort into those like associate waters than anyone, yeah? Half of these people who go on and cause problems and all that, yeah, they don't even do work parties for the association. They don't do no charity work for them. They don't really give a crap. All they're asked about is their captures. Do you understand what I mean? And their ego and their status. You know what I mean? They don't give a crap about the association or anything. Like, you know what I mean? You know, for Winsford Anglers, like, you know, that video that I done for Martin Hall, that raised 300 members the next year, right? That's full members. That's £80 a member. Now, all that money, yeah, is being invested back into Winsford as an Angling Association, yeah, Winsford District Angling Association, yeah. So when you're a local, yeah, and your club's getting stuff and everything else, right? Remember that, yeah. Joe Goldson put 300 members at £80. your first year. That money is going into Winsford, yeah? Into Winsford, yeah? And then also, it gave me the sense to do junior events, to encourage young juniors to fish properly. So it was all good, yeah? It's just you horrible, pathetic people going on about crap that's not even anything to do with you. Do you understand what I mean? You know, it's pathetic. You know, you really have all got egg on your faces, haven't you? Do you know what I mean? And it's as simple as that. You know, it's not a local pond, it's an associate pond, right? And most of the associates members down there are associates of the area. And if you go down there now, there's a lot of work parties getting done down there. And guess what? Not one fucking local there. Do you understand me? Yeah? So this is why, yeah, you know, my blood does boil up every now and then. But I'm letting you know now, you're all full of shit. Yeah? And you all need to keep that fucking shut. Honestly. You know, I had my car fucking vandalised because of you fucking dickheads. Yeah? I've had me Facebook fucking, you know, invaded and everything. Get a fucking grip, you idiots. Do you know what I mean? What are you all about? You know, you all give it the mouth and you say, well, all right, I live in Winsford now. Come down and sort it out. No, you won't do that, will you? You know, it's pathetic. The amount of people that have been terrorised by locals is local anglers, local fishing for local anglers type of peoples. The fucking, what are they called? You know, the banjo flickers, and now the new generation, the clowns. You know, you don't own the lakes, lads. None of you do. And you've got no right to tell anyone what to do when they catch a carp. Yeah? No right at all. Yeah? So eat that, yeah? And come back at me, because I don't give a shit about you, yeah? Bear it in mind, yeah? Don't be coming back up to me. You know all the snakes. Like trying to slither away back in. You're all snakes, yeah? And snakes only shred their skin. Yeah? Pathetic bastards. Sorry about the language, but, you know, that's how I talk. I'm not offensive for anything, just the way I talk. When people have a go at me, they're getting it back. It's as simple as that. If you don't like it, fuck off. Simple, innit? Right, so that's that done. Yeah? That's what it was all about. That's what it's all about. Yeah? Pathetic little sad people. Yeah? Bad anglers. Call fuck all. Blame other people for not catching. Ah, get a grip. So, 2013, you know, I had 2 years of not doing any angling, you know, sorting my life out, saving my house from getting repossessed and everything else. And I jumped on the taxis, and what a time I had. It was great, you know. But it was time to do some angling again now, you know. I got things back together on even heel. I was earning money regular and everything else. And, you know, life was good again, you know. It was all sorted again after burning myself out for 5 years down in Kent. Um, Fishing some of the hardest waters in Kent, you know, and catching and being productive, you know. But, you know, it's one of them, innit? It is what it is, innit? So 2013, I walked on Martinol, and I walked around it a couple of times. Went down in the winter; it was half frozen and stuff like that. And I just kept on going down there, having a little walk and everything else. I started seeing fish with soul and everything else, where they was showing and all that. Like, but you know, my first swim I went into was suicide swim. Um, you know, they were there, they were right on the edge. You know, there was a couple of fish there. You know, I lost a good fish, and I had a few fish as well. I think the biggest was 29, the long common. And, you know, all I done was like fish between June and October once a fortnight. And, you know, I had a few fish off it. I can't remember how many, but the biggest one was the common. And I had that at 29. It's dead, that fish now. I had a couple of stockies. I had one more original. Um, it was definitely not a stockie that had been put in recently by bear from the ocean. All the original fish that are in Martinol, that they were originally in Martinol, like Spike in the leather and the long common, and you know, a couple of other fish. You know, they were all Lightfoot strain. They all come from the river. You know, I know like the leather come from Newbridge, But, that new bridge, it was stocked with the river fish, it's right next to the river. So that's that was it, really. The first year, I just went down and, fish once a fortnight. I think it's about 6 fish or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head because I'm just doing this off the top of my head. I'm not like prepping for it or anything, I've got no need to. The work's been done, the fish have been caught, what's what. You've all seen the video as well, so it's all there to be documented, So you know, I done my first year, and then my second year, I was turning 40, so I didn't really want to be sat on a fishing bank, like I ended up going to save me money up and going to Egypt. I think I had one trip, um, in 2014. And it was funny, really. Miles Gibson was on then, and it was coming up to the bank holiday, so I could do a bit of fishing before the bank holiday because of the taxis, and then after it, because I made a lot of money at bank holidays, and I could, take me 2 days off, like on the Wednesday, and then the Thursday, the Tuesday and the Wednesday I took off, and then I worked then Thursday all the way till Monday, and then jumped back on again on Tuesday. Now, I got down there and I seen quite a few fish like fizzing up. And I was thinking, what the fuck's going on here? This was in front of the muddy. And I fancied the muddy, but the right hand side of it. And I fancied the pads for the leather. I'd seen it there a couple of times. But I didn't say nothing. It was a solo fish, kept on going there. But I got it confused sometimes with Spike, because I hadn't really seen proper pictures of both of them, but I knew they were there. So, um, 2014, and Miles was on, I couldn't believe it. I said, like, Miles, what you doing down here? Well, actually, he introduced himself. He said, all right, Joe, how's it going? Who's that? He said, Miles. I said, oh, hello, Miles, how are you? Cracking kid. Honest to God, when I used to run Northwest Angler of the Year, that lad would have, he'd put something in every year, and what he's gone on to catch, and the angler he is now, it's only respect to your son, you know what I mean? He's very good angler, very capable, and he deserved to have that fish because he baited it up for about 4 or 5 weeks non-stop. And I've gone down there and I found out where he was baiting because they were all fizzing. So I've I've knocked one out and it was only £18. Yeah, told Miles, oh, I had one £18. He's run down and he's photographed it for me, He says, oh, keep it quiet, Joe, as everyone does. And I says, Miles, I don't even see no one. I don't even have any contact with anyone, only Bert. I says to him, if you don't want this capture to come out, don't tell Bert. It's as simple as that, because he's the only one who'll know. I won't tell no one. So I goes off then, has that double, and Miles says, oh, I'm getting back on, Says, bait's going to go off. Says, oh, yeah, mate, no worries. So I went off, done my taxiing and everything else, and then it was like I'd done the bank holiday, and it was Tuesday morning, and I phoned up. I said, all right, Miles, you all right, lad? And he went, yeah, yeah, yeah. I said, you down this week? And he went, I've had it. I said, what? He goes, I've had it. £40 odd. I went, fuck off, you stuffy bastard. You can't have had it already. He goes, no, honestly, Joe, I thought you would have heard. I said, that's why I never phoned you. I said, nah, mate, I didn't know. So I was like, bloody hell, lad, well done. He's like, lad, crack on. And I think he just had the tartan fish as well. So, good. So I just done that one trip and I had a double and that was it. And I left it then because I was calling with someone else, you know what I mean? And oh, it's a nightmare when you first start calling and once they realise you got the angle and it don't go down well. So anyway, 2015, that was my year. I've just been 40. I explained to the person who was with them, I'm fishing now, and that's it. See you later. So I got my head right into it then, and it was a difficult year. We had a couple of stockies off, me, Malin, and Scott Nolan. That's where I mixed up on a future video. There was a lad down on Martin Hall called Scott Nolan, yeah. And sometimes now I get me bait off Scott here, so sometimes I say Scott Nolan when it's actually Scott here. It's one of them. Age comes to you, and memories forget. Your memory's not all there. So I've gone down there. I've met Dave Mallon and I've spoken to him. I said to him, "Oh mate, the bait I've been having the fish on, nothing special, mixed pellets and mixed shot boats and just fishing a little pineapple, over the top of it, a mainline pineapple, and I was catching a few and all that." And then he says to me, "Well, I've been putting a lot of bait in, Joe." I says, "Well, do you want to put a bit more bait in?" And as you do, I ended up getting me bait off Dave, but mine was a little bit different than his. I like my bait soft, so he didn't put any ag album in my bait, and I soaked some of my bait in hemp oil as well. So I was a little bit different than him, but like the food source was there, and I picked an area and I kept on putting half a kilo in, half a kilo in, half a kilo in, half a kilo in. Dave was coming down and he was putting like tons of bait in, like 7 kilo for a 48 hour and 14 kilo of hemp. He would be getting a bite still. The fish were hungry. He had a lot of stockies in there and they were hungry, they'd eat anything. They wouldn't be put off by a better bait. He wasn't hard to catch the stockies out of suicide. It was easy. It was getting the fish to come out of that aquarium. That was the task. I think if you got, I mean, no, my head was on the fact that, like, if I get those fish out the aquarium, I'm going to catch the better fish. And that was the plan for 2015, really, sorry. To get those fish out that aquarium, to find somewhere where I'd seen it and, like, that or the spike where I'd seen these fish, they're like leathers, aren't they? They're both like leathers, and it's very hard to distinguish them really, But I knew for a fact that this spot, the leather or spike, was fit. It was visiting regular. It was just a case of time, getting it right. I was looking for a northwesterly all the time because the northwesterly, the swim that we had it from the pads, that's where it blew. Now, there was another lad on there, in 2014 and 2013. His name was Mark. And basically, you got on a pad swim and you walked up the hill and you could cast over to Cheats Corner, because, like, as per usual, the local lads, they used to go down and fish in the corner. But we, all the rest of us used to cast from the hill, top of the hill, over to the corner. And literally where you stood to cast over to the corner, there was like a little plateau there in the margin, and it was 15 foot, and the rest of it was 25, 30 foot around it. That's where they actually had the leather from. You know, it must have wounded a lot of people who used to walk up the hill and cast to where that, like, I had it where they was stood. But that's where they had the leather from. It was from a little little shelf that come off the margin. I used to bait it really so no one could see me from the right hand side of the muddy. I used to get me little pole and put a couple of baits in and put it all around that poly and then fish it from the pads. You know, they didn't want no one to see me putting the bait in, so it was all sneaky behind the bushes and all that. Yeah. So it is what it is. I had the lead and that, like the first year. Everyone struggled. We caught a few stockies. Then October, the first original off was the leather, and I had it. And then I had another one called Poppy. I've been there for ages. Before, like, it's the second stocking of Martineau with the ocean strain. But that was it really. There's not much to say about it really. You've seen the videos out there. It's still there now, and you can go and watch it, and enjoy it. A lot of people have enjoyed that video. I tell you what, and some of the emails and the people I've met and everything else, it don't bother me publicising because the people who have given me respect and enjoyed that capture far outweighs outweighs all the negative and bad people. Honestly, I could tell you loads of good things about what's been said to me and what's been done since I've had the leather. So when I had the leather, as you seen earlier on, I told you the bad side of it, but the good side of it, it's just, the amount of people who have come up to me and said, I haven't been fishing for 5 years, I watched your video and, it inspired me to sort of like go fishing again. I had one guy, he lost his son many years ago and he was in a depression because he used to go fishing with his son and stuff like that. Like, and his friends started, come on, let's get you out and go fishing and all that. Like, and he couldn't do it because he'd done it with his son. And his mate said to him, let's watch some fishing videos. So they watched all the fishing videos and all that. They watched all the fishing videos and all that, like, and they didn't like any of them, like, Then all of a sudden, like, you know, they watched the leather. And then that was it. Then he looked at his mate and he said, come on, let's get this fishing gear out and get fishing. And that's what it's about, really. I'm an encourager. I'm not a discourager. I try to encourage angling. I don't discourage it. I don't stitch anyone up or fuck anyone over. I don't need to. Do you know what I mean? I don't get any satisfaction out of that. Don't get me wrong, I am a bit cleverer than a few and I do get it edited sometimes, but it's not stitching up and all that. Like, I've got no time for it. It is what it is. If someone's like catching more fish than you or doing better than you don't. That's it. That's their thing, innit? You know what I mean? You can't go around and start getting envious or jealous or trying to fuck them up to stop them or try and rob what they're doing. You step aside and let them carry on. You know what I mean? Your day will come. That's how you've got to think about it. It's time and effort. A lot of these days now, a lot of big fish are getting caught quick. Yeah, but people don't understand the circumstances. A lot of those, like these top profile anglers now, mate, they're all on information. Do you understand what I mean? Information gets passed between them. They all know where the fish are going to come from. Do you understand what I mean? It's not like what you think it is. You've got to put the effort in. You can't just go down and go, I'm going to have this, blah, blah, blah. You just take your time, just do it. Just go through the motions at the time. If it takes you, it's like young Morgan Freeman. Like, he's young Morgan. He stayed on that on more quarry. He was saying, I'm sick of catching all these, and I just want that big. And so Morgan, don't worry about it, lad, because when you have it, your album will be better than anyone's. So sometimes, taking longer to catch a fish is better than quicker, you know. So, I've had, I still get emails now about Martin, and people don't understand that it was 8 years ago. It was 2015 when I had that fish. My phone got teared to death by the banjo flickers, the Winsford banjo flickers. It was a nightmare. They wouldn't leave it alone. So once I publicised them, I put the video up and walking with elephants. They all shut up. Stunned. So it gets like that fishing in Cheshire Valley, it's, yeah, I don't get it all, me, you know what I mean? I just let them get on with it. But, the mountain hole, it's not a rush water, you know what I mean? You got to take your time with it, they don't come bouncing on the hooks, really. It's not hard water as in angling hard, but the effort that you've got to put in it is hard. You know, since I've caught that leather, there's been some great captures of it. Salford Sammy, he done something like, and he said, I'm interested in Martin Old Joe. I've known Sammy since he was a nipper, really, very young, at a young age. I used to see him down on Clifton. I think he was the only person fishing zigs at one stage, him and his cousin, Mark. And he was smashing them out in zigs. No one else was using them. So, he's a capable angler, Sammy. So, I went down chatting with him and he told me told me about chatting and he come down, Martin Hall. And I told him about the leather, really, you know what I mean, about what I knew. And he went on and he caught it, there is other people on there, like a couple of local clowns, they've gone on there, never, not caught it, and seems to think it's my problem. It was my fault that they never caught it because I publicised the leather, even though they've been part of the very first publicisation. It just, carp fishing just gets. I don't know what it does. Sometimes what it does to some people, it's just unreal. Do you know what I mean? Like best friends have fallen out and everything else over egos and like stuff like that. Martin all caused me a lot of problems, but like I say, it gave me a lot of good. And it was really good to like see Salford Sammy go down and have that fish, you know what I mean? And a couple of other guys who's emailed me and I've said, I tried to explain to them I haven't been there, it's changed late, but have a go at it. I don't like give any bad emails out. I try and give encouragement emails out, but I mean, even this year I was getting them. It's like, come on, lads, other people have caught it after me. It's other people's turn now. You know what I mean, to get the emails and all that. You can't keep on coming over to me. There's a good young lad now on there, Charlie. I don't know as Charlie. I think it's Woodward, young lad, and I've been in touch with him, he's talked about his angling, and he's had the leather and spike. Now that is glorious, mate. To have leather and spike is good. It's exceptional angling, because you fish down there, and if you catch spike, you're sort of like, oh, fuck the leather, that's enough. Yeah, and when you catch the leather, you go, fuck spike, that's enough. I did say to myself, I'd be on Martin Hall for 3 years, and I stayed up till December and lost another good fish right in the net. But yeah, like I say, get on the video, watch the Martin Hall video, and you know, get on with it. Just go and fish it. There's 5 swims. You know, it's well run by Bert. So just crack on and get on with it. There's nothing I can give you information wise now because it's been 8 years. So, but what I will say is, and it wasn't a wind up on that video at the end of it. I said, my next big fish will be Petty Pool. And Ryan, I wasn't winding you up. I was telling the truth. Yeah. So, that's the way it is now, the evidence is there now, it's not just about catching the big carp in Cheshire, it's about catching them at the right time. And that's what I've been doing. I caught top flash, I caught a two-tone top flash at the right time. Do you know what I mean? I've caught Martin Old leather the right time. And now, as we're going on now, Petty Pool's going to be coming up soon, and I caught that 45-pound 4-ounce fish the right time. Yeah, and that's what it's all about, really. It's not just about catching them big; it's catching them at the right time, because there's not that many 40-plussers in Cheshire, But it don't mean Cheshire's a bad angling place. Cheshire is an amazing place to go angling. All it is you just got to get over this ego of like the fish are bigger down south and these don't mean nothing. They do. I'm telling you now, all the stories, there's nothing in Cheshire. Load of nonsense. There's loads of good fishing in Cheshire. Absolutely tons of it. It's just that the fish don't go as big as they do down south. I know for a fact that the Cheshire record's going to be broke soon. There's a fish out there that's grown and it's young. And it's going to do it. It's going to do the Cheshire record without doubt. And if I'm on the bank and it happens, I'll be made up. If I catch it, I'll be even more made up. But I know in here where the next biggest mirror in Cheshire is going to come from. So I've put a few more photos together for this Martin Hall bit. I hope I haven't offended anyone. I probably have, but I'm not asked because you have more than deserve it. A lot of you more deserve what I've just said on this video. More than deserve that. Yeah. I'm quite lucky to get off with the things that you've got off with that you've done to me. Yeah. So let bygones be bygones, yeah? I just catch your big carp and that's that. Get over it.
How many special people change? How many lives are living strange? Where were you while we were getting high? Slowly walking down the hall, faster than a cannonball. Where were you while we were getting high? Someday you will find me caught beneath the landslide, in a champagne supernova in the sky. Someday you will find me caught beneath the landslide, in a champagne supernova, a champagne supernova in the sky. The dawn and ask her why. A dream, she never dies. Wipe that tear away now from your eye. Slowly walking down the hall, faster than a cannonball. Where were you while we were getting high? Someday you will through a storm. Hold your head up high and don't be afraid of the dark. At the end of a storm, there's a golden sky. The sweet